It's the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion. This is for Wednesday, the 5th of November. I'm Michael Groff. We continue with dry conditions, temperatures holding above average through the rest of the week, this weekend, into at least the first half of next week. And about the only sensible weather we'll see during that time is some occasional passing clouds. However, way out toward the end of the forecast period, by the middle and especially latter part of next week, signs of a big pattern change coming into the western United States that will bring about cooler and potentially unsettled weather to the southwest. Does that mean some rain for us here in Phoenix? We could sure use some more. We'll talk about that plus everything else as we dive on in and discuss. First, let's get to the almanac from yesterday. 91 degrees was the afternoon high in Phoenix. I know, not very November-like, is it? Morning low of 62. 82 and 58 are the averages for this time of year, so we were almost 10 degrees above those seasonal averages, and just shy of that record high of 95 degrees, but luckily we should stay away from the records for a while, at least in Phoenix, although yesterday, Douglas, down there in the southeastern part of the state, Douglas tied a record high temperature of 84 degrees from 2001. So we did have some very warm temperatures over parts of the state yesterday. Looking outside right now, here at about 6 a.m., we've got clear sky across the valley. We're sitting at 63 degrees at Sky Harbor. The dew point's at 35, relative humidity 36%. The winds are light and the barometer is steady. Satellite picture out here across the west. And of course, here in Arizona, mostly clear sky continues. We had a few high clouds come through yesterday. We might see a passing cloud or two today, but for the most part, the storm track is to the north of us, high pressure is in control, and that is going to be the same old story through the weekend and through the first part of next week before that big pattern change that we talked about may come to fruition. Here's the watch warning map. Check it out, though, with that storm track to the north of us, another powerful system coming into the west coast and the Pacific Northwest. We've got wind advisories for the Great Basin and up into parts of the Pacific Northwest, the California coast. High wind warnings for the Sierra. We've got wind advisories as well over the Northeast, but much of the nation is actually fairly quiet. We do have some wind as well over parts of northern Montana. The convective outlook for today, how about a marginal risk of severe storms in, of all places, northern California, up into the west coast of Oregon, southwest Washington, Medford, Portland, maybe Vancouver, Washington, and around Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, over toward Hartford and Boston. That marginal risk, again, level 1 out of 5 for severe storms. There could be a few storms. I know it's early November, but that can still happen where you get those gusty winds to around 58 miles per hour or so. That is one of the criteria for severe weather. Of course, the other being hail that is an inch in diameter or greater. Now, the tropics, right now, the tropics look dead in the Atlantic. I mean, look at this. Clear sky really from the coast of Africa all the way through the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. There is not so much even as a tropical wave to talk about out here or any disturbed weather or any signs that we'll see any development for a while. Now, water temperatures are still rather warm in the Caribbean, but right now we show no indication of any development out here. Now, keep in mind, of course, hurricane season does run through the end of November. In the East Pacific, it's kind of the same story. There's few showers and thunderstorms there around 20 degrees north latitude and kind of further south from there as well. We've seen a few flare-ups in recent days, but nothing that's going to develop into any sort of tropical action, at least not right now. That's probably going to be how the story goes for a while, and maybe that's it for the hurricane season in the East Pacific as well. Closer to home, the precipitation outlook. This is valid through Wednesday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, nothing statewide, nothing region-wide, basically nothing. Why is that? Well, as mentioned, the main storm track is to the north of us for now, and at least for the next 6 or 7 days, conditions are quiet. But just beyond this period, that's what we're watching with great interest. We've been talking about this for about a week now on these videos, that a pattern change, maybe even more than that, a pattern change is coming for mid-November. And will it have any impact on our weather? We'll talk about that because the drought situation continues to be a problem here over Arizona. I know we had all that rain in late September, early October, and that certainly did put a dent in the drought, but the latest drought monitor does show 94% of the state is still in at least the moderate drought category, with about 2/3 of the state in at least a severe drought. Now, here in Phoenix and central Maricopa County, northwest Pinal County, the greater Phoenix area, we're either in the moderate or severe drought category, depending on where you are, with portions of southwest and far southern Arizona and the east, central, southeast part of the state, the extreme east, central, and southeastern corner in that extreme drought, as well as far northwest Arizona over parts of Mojave County there. The extreme drought continues. That's about 10% of the state still in that category. Luckily, we don't have anybody in the exceptional drought category anymore. So when will things start to change? What's going on with this weather pattern in more detail? To figure that out right now, let's dive into the models, see what's going on. This is the GFS. It is the 06Z run. This is valid at 5 o'clock this afternoon. The upper look at 500 millibars. That's about 18,000 feet up. And we've got a trough coming into the northwest. We've got troughing over the northeast and eastern Canada. Big vortex up there. My goodness. But for us here in the southwest and actually through much of the southern tier of the United States, conditions are very quiet right now. So what it means down at the surface for the rest of the day today, what you see is what you get. Sunny sky, high temperatures, mid to upper 80s. That is certainly above average, but not record-breaking, at least for most of us. Some locations that may not have quite as long a period of record, such as down there toward Douglas and Sierra Vista, certainly I suppose we could flirt with record highs down there. Although temperatures will be down a couple of degrees from where they were yesterday in some spots. For tonight, the sky is clear, and with dry air, lows will drop into the mid and upper 50s in the cool spots, low 60s or so, maybe mid 60s for the urban core. And then for tomorrow, it's basically the same forecast. High temperatures might be down a degree or two, but still, we should be squarely in the mid 80s here in Phoenix, with highs generally in the 60s and 70s in the high country. And Friday, second verse, same as the first. No change here, with high temperatures pretty much in the 60s and 70s up north, mid 80s, maybe upper 80s to near 90 for the warmest desert spots. Saturday, it's the same situation. Sunday, it's the same story. High temperatures here in Phoenix, somewhere in the mid 80s, with dry conditions to continue. If you want to any outdoor activities that you may have planned this weekend, weather is not going to slow those down unless, of course, they involve rain or cloudy weather. Well, then you got a problem there. But otherwise, looks pretty nice. Temperatures above average, but nowhere near records for us. Monday, might see a few clouds in here, but other than that, conditions remain dry. Tuesday, a few more clouds will come into the mix. We'll call it partly sunny here. This is Veterans Day, and so if you got any plans, the day off, whatever it is you're out doing, yeah, it might be some clouds around, but in terms of any other sensible weather, no, high temperatures will still hold somewhere in the mid 80s for us here in Phoenix. The warmest desert spots, again, will be near 90 degrees. So while the afternoons will be warm, the morning's nice. Once the sun goes down, it turns nice very quickly, of course, because of that very dry air. Dry air warms up efficiently. It cools off efficiently. A week from today, this is Wednesday, the 12th. And again, we're still under the influence of high pressure to a degree, although it is beginning to be pushed off to the east at this point. More of a west-southwesterly flow is developing. And note that big trough that's off the west coast, that is coming our way slowly. And the pattern across North America, which is kind of de-amplified at the moment, is becoming more amplified as we go into next week. And the floodgates are going to open initially for some Arctic air to drop south over the eastern part of the country, but then the focus will be on us out here in the west with a big pattern change coming. This is Thursday, the 13th, and you see that trough is getting closer to us. The flow aloft is southwesterly. Again, we'll see an increase in clouds at this point, but high temperatures will still be above average. I expect low to mid 80s to continue here at that point. This is the end of the forecast period, Friday the 14th. And boy, we have talked about this day. It seems like we've been talking about Friday the 14th since the last 14th of the month, since October the 14th. But this is really kind of the start of a big pattern change, at least according to the models. They have really been rather consistent at advertising this. Now, the details, of course, have been changing with each run, but the general idea, and we're out here at 10 days. We're on the border between Fantasyland and maybe land, right? I mean, and Uncertainville. And where we're at right here is a trough coming into the southwestern United States, and a pretty cold upper trough at that. If this is right, the day on Friday would still look pretty good for us, but we would see an increase in clouds and winds, and by late in the day, and certainly Friday night, moving into that Saturday, the 15th, we'd see an increase in rain and some maybe high elevation snow, and temperatures would be coming down. But again, this is just an idea that's on the table. Let's look at some of the other models here. This is the European. This is the same time. This is Friday, the 14th. Now, it's a slight bit slower with the progression of that trough, but it's kind of the same setup, right? A cold upper trough coming our way. Pretty impressive little system here, and moisture would be on the increase. It probably would hold off any precipitation till that following day, and that's Saturday the 15th. This is the European AI, again, same time. And it's almost identical. The details are slightly different. The intensity is just slightly different. The orientation is ever so slightly different, but it's basically the same concept of a change toward cooler and unsettled weather at the very end of next week and into that following weekend. Again, we're still kind of on the border of Fantasyland here, but we've been talking about this for quite a while. All right, looking at rainfall for Phoenix. This goes out through the 19th of November. This is off the GFS ensemble. Now, if this kind of verifies here, you see the ensemble mean, it's up it's about a quarter inch, a third of an inch. There are still quite a few members that show nothing, but of the 31 member ensemble, more than half do have precipitation for us. And the trend is looking more promising on the European ensemble. You got 51 members. Now, first of all, the control member is like just out of control. Okay. It's up at almost 2.5 inches of rain. All right. That's a little ridiculous. But the ensemble mean continues to come up. Remember, at one point, this was only 1/10 of an inch, then 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch. So this is nudging up. And the Euro AI ensemble is the same story. This continues to trend up. Again, this was a few days ago. This was 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, now about 3/4 of an inch of rain, and coming up toward an inch of rain. And you got quite a few members in this ensemble that suggest we will see precipitation. You've got some that show nothing. You've got some that are over 2 and 3 inches of rain. So there is still a high model spread here. And we've seen some pretty ridiculous ideas. So we can't buy. That's why we don't buy into any of this stuff. And that's why those people that say, you're gaslighting, you're predicting rain. No, we're not predicting rain. We're just telling you what the models show here. And that's what we do. We do these model discussions and we show you what's happening. Some of this, when we started talking about this 2 weeks ago, of course, the models don't even go out that far. We were talking about the teleconnections. We were talking about the pattern recognition. And, if you've been doing this long enough, if you've been talking weather and studying meteorology for any length of time, I'm an old guy, so I've been around the block a couple of times to see that the pattern recognition, the pattern was starting to show signs of a change, but it was going to take a while to evolve, and that's where we're at now. We're starting to get to that point where the pattern is beginning to change. Now, does that mean we're going to see rain at the end of next week or the following weekend? Of course not. The weather is weird. Weather does what weather's going to do. We can just talk about what's being shown to us right now, what the atmosphere, what the signs are, but the details, we're not going to have those for you until probably next week sometime. All right, looking at temperatures off the national blend of models. Look, we're above average today, tomorrow, Friday, the weekend, most of next week, and then temperatures are going to trend down. Now, the NBM it's a blend of models, and you've got some models that keep us dry and very warm all the way out through mid and even into late November. Some are showing highs way down in the 60s by the weekend of the 15th. So obviously the blend of models is going to be somewhere in between that. And so that's kind of what we're showing right now. But clearly a trend down is in the offing. All right, looking at the CPC outlook, November 12th to the 18th, the 8 to 14 day period temperatures, if this is right, across the plain states, way above average. But in the Southwest, you see the trend continues to tilt very slowly toward below average temperatures, particularly for Southern California, and now nudging into Western Arizona, most of the rest of the state in the near average category. We'd even take that at this point because that would mean highs, well, for today, low 80s, but by the time we get out here toward mid-November, that's well down in the 70s, at least for us here in Phoenix. But again, if these trends come to fruition, temperatures would probably be below average way out here in this period. Precipitation is now becoming more heavily skewed toward above average. I'm getting choked up even thinking about it. Toward above average probabilities of precipitation. So that's where we're at right now. And that's where the CPC guys are at with all of this as well. So hopefully that does happen, and the weather doesn't make a liar out of me. But that's how it is in this business. I've always said this, there's two types of meteorologists, those that are humble and those that are about to be. All right. That's going to do it, by the way, for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video is due back here tomorrow morning. Should you happen to enjoy these videos, then be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell, leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. Hey, if you really enjoy these videos and you want to support the channel, just like PJ Cole 98 did yesterday, you can click that thanks icon below the video here on YouTube and make a contribution to us that way. Or via PayPal, groffshow@gmail.com is that PayPal address. It's GROFF@gmail.com for PayPal. Our Venmo is also linked up down in the description, so give that a consideration as well. If you really like what we do here, you appreciate our hard work, waking up at 2 and 3 in the morning and putting these videos together for you. All right, the executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion, who on a day like today does not get up at 2 or 3 in the morning because, well, she's not completely insane like I am. I'm talking about my OAO, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of SweetChildAZ.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona. Talking about my Michelle. Yes, check her out. Blogs, of which she has a new one up there, videos and everything that's Michelle related, as well as Kylie related and Adriana related, of course. You can check out all of that detailed below. It is linked up down there, perma-linked, in fact. Our streaming station, that's available 24/7, 365. It's called KMGX, and we play a ton of music and have a lot of fun with that. So give that a listen too. And check it out, the Courtroom Files YouTube channel, The Courtroom Files on YouTube. Often imitated, never duplicated, or courtroomfiles.com for all your Courtroom Files merch. Why check out that channel? Well, because it has voluminous amounts of content. But beyond that, and just being a little self-serving here, you get to see me. If you just can't get enough of me for whatever reason, well, then may I suggest you check out the Courtroom Files YouTube channel again this morning starting at 10 a.m. East, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's 8 a.m. here in Arizona. I will be hosting the live show, TCF Live, again, at least 3 hours of fun and frivolity. Maybe more. We may go to overtime. You never know. Lots of fun stuff in the courtrooms across the country. We do court hopping and all that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of fun in the chat over there. It's a great community that Dan has. And I am just manning the ship while he is gone. It's not some permanent thing that I'm doing. Dan is on vacation, and he will be back next week, but I am filling in for him and running things over there, and really do appreciate that opportunity. It's been a lot of fun, especially yesterday. Yesterday was amazing. So if you missed it, you can go and check out the live from yesterday, but I suggest you join us again this morning, 10 a.m. East, 7 a.m. Pacific, for TCF Live. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, all of your continued support. It's amazing. It is so greatly appreciated. Please be safe, though. Stay cool, stay hydrated out there, and have yourselves an absolutely spectacular, dare I even suggest, an epic rest of your Wednesday.